My name is Phil Saville from CIS, and we provide IT support and cybersecurity solutions for small to medium-sized businesses. So thank you for joining us, and we hope that our weekly 10-minute presentations and Q&A section is helping with working from home more productively and, of course, securely. Today's talk is on two topics, which both really fall under securing a remote workforce. Today, I'm joined by Dan Hadland, our Technology and Innovation Director. He'll be answering any questions along with myself, which viewers have raised during the live session and previously. And we also have Erin also with us to support us and keep us on track. So give us a wave, everyone. So please submit any questions in the comments below or contact us via our Facebook page afterwards. And of course, if you're watching a recorded version, then please continue to submit questions and we will come back to you. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. So just give me 1 second. Here we are. Brilliant. Okay. Cool. Okay. So here are the two questions I'm aiming to cover in the next sort of 10 to sort of 12 minutes. Is my current password security good enough? And how can I secure data on personal mobile or company-owned mobile phone? The first part I will cover is really about MFA, multi-factor authentication. And answering this question, is my current password security good enough? So the first computer password was in fact created in 1961, and nearly everything we now do on a computer or mobile requires us to enter a password for access. And let's face it, we wouldn't dream of leaving our home open when we go out, leave our car unlocked in a car park or on the drive, and we definitely wouldn't leave windows and doors open at the office when we leave at the end of the day. However, we're happy, and I say happy in a broad way, for us to and employees to have weak passwords. But what is a weak password? So here are some stats about some passwords. 53% of people rely on their memory to manage passwords, and because of this stat, we tend to sort of create easy to remember passwords. It's not good, folks. 51% people use the same password for both work and personal accounts. And of course, data breaches are happening all the time. And then data is then sold on the black market for hackers to buy and exploit further. Again, not good. 50% of people have already been scammed in a phishing attack and they still haven't changed their passwords. Scary. Even if you're not sure about that, 100%, and change your password anyway. 71% of accounts are protected by a password that is used on multiple other websites. Please don't use the same password over and over again. 90% of internet users are worried about getting their passwords hacked. And let's face it, with these stats, the risk is high. Your details have probably already been compromised as part of a data breach before, especially if you haven't changed your password or you're using the same one over and over again. So it's possibly known to cyber criminals. And over 81% of data breaches start with a weak or stolen password. And this makes me laugh, but also cringe. The password 123456 is still used by 23 million account holders worldwide. All these are putting your business at risk. And let's face it, changing every single member of staff's password to a unique, complex, and more than 8 characters is an impossible task. And then, of course, managing it from then is a nightmare. So, if you are part of the 90% that are worried that your password will get hacked, and let's face it, it probably will at some point, fear not, people. This is where MFA, multi-factor authentication, comes in place. So MFA adds a second layer, preventing unauthorized access and not relying on an employee's password alone. So any application where you would log in with your credentials as normal, then the MFA kicks in automatically, generating a code and sending it via your preferred method. And there are several ways. So something that you have, like a USB fob, a mobile phone to receive a text call, or an app that you can access, obviously a landline number, a trusted device, even a pin entry card reader that you use widely for banking. Something you are, like face recognition or fingerprint, something you know, multiple questions, a pattern to reproduce on a mobile, etc. And of course, where you are located, using your IP address, sort of the town that you're in, or even you can restrict locations where it can't be used. Obviously, these are still being used at the moment. So there's things like Apple that send a code direct to your device. Google send you a location notification to confirm. And of course, like I mentioned, online banking asking for a code from a pin entry card device. So the most popular methods obviously are receiving a code via text and using an app to generate a unique code that normally has a lifespan of about 30 seconds and then disappears and can't be used. So if you for whatever reason expires that time, then you regenerate another code. Our solution sort of integrates other main business solutions. So it's things like minimal impact for the user, using one multi-factor authentication solution throughout work activities. It keeps it simple, so the users get familiar with the straightforward and easy steps to follow, and it almost becomes second nature to them. If ever needed, one click and we can lock a user out. Of course, security is an all-round key, and we're more than happy to go through more details if you're interested in that and you want to know more. And of course, it integrates with Microsoft Active Directory, and it isn't a complex tool for users. You can generate several reports from it, and it's easy to scale up as required. So if you want to find out more, visit our website or get in contact with us direct, and my details will be displayed at the end of this presentation. So that was just a brief overview of password security, enhancing that and really using multi-factor authentication throughout. So we'll now move on to part 2 of this presentation, which is about how can I secure the data, company data on a company or personal mobile phone. We have seen a huge increase in users accessing company data from mobiles and in fact using BYOD. And if you're not familiar with this term, it means bring your own devices. This is where employees are using their own personal devices for work activities. And this can be just accessing emails or business files or logging into dedicated websites like online portals and that sort of thing. The main reason people use their own mobile device is for ease. Not having to carry around either a personal mobile and a company-owned mobile at the same time. And to be honest, I know people with a company mobile and they still use their personal mobile to access emails and company data. So whether it's a personal mobile or a company mobile, what are the risks? Chances are you've not really thought about it, but don't worry, you're not alone. So here are some of the risks to think about. Opportunities for data theft, using unsecured Wi-Fi, unpatched security updates, malware risk, obviously downloading dodgy apps for personal use, things like there's fake COVID-19 tracking apps out there that are full of malicious software. Poor basic security, updates not being applied, no password to access the device, not auto lock enabled and things like that. And this again, these devices are storing your company data on it. And of course, lack of employee training. In an ideal world, we would train our staff on the risk of using personal or company-owned devices, and what security should be in place and why, and introduce specific policies for users to hopefully follow. But of course, that alone, having a policy, written policy, isn't the answer. And of course, device lost or theft. Let's face it, mobiles are small enough to lose and valuable enough to be stolen. And then there's things like shadow IT. And this is where employees are discovering their own applications for business without the consent or consideration of the security risks. And of course, potential legal issues. Who is responsible for the data on a personal device? Are the users aware of the potential risk to a GDPR breach? when would you find out an employee has lost their own personal phone? I mean, why would they tell you? All they're concerned about is their personal data and getting a replacement straight away. So the priority in informing their employer is low. So this is where an MDM solution comes in. So MDM stands for Mobile Device Management. I mean, we do love our acronyms in IT. So no matter whether you use a personal device or a company-owned device, our MDM solution can protect your business data without intruding on your own personal data. So you've got simplified uniformed management, and this is where you manage and secure company-owned personal Windows 10, Mac operating system, mobile endpoints, all in one system to ensure that the company security policies and secure access to company data is sort of gone through all devices. And this provides with maximum productivity where organizations have, a mix of BYOD and company-owned devices. You can apply consistent policies regarding the device type or the device ownership. And you have things like modern management and mobile threat defense. And this is where we established a robust line of defense at the mobile device level with industry-leading threat protection technology. And you use deep learning technology and web protection as well. You can enforce company policies and compliance checks that will automatically restrict an access to business data only if the device isn't compliant. And of course, keeping business data protected and personal data private. So on a personal or company-owned device, this is critical. So to make sure that the business data is safe and the personal information is correct, our MDM comes with what's called a container. And this is for email and documents that can be deployed with or without management of the device itself. So a container-only management gives admin controls over corporate content without intruding on the user's privacy. And by keeping business email and documents on mobile devices in containers, it's just making sure that the access to the company data is controlled and secure. And then there's things like I said, this container, this app which is iOS and Android, provides a secure way to manage, distribute and edit business documents, web content, and you can edit Office documents without even leaving the container and the app environment to ensure encrypted content remains secure. And then finally, anti-phishing technology, which also protects from malicious links in documents. Again, more than that. So that was a real sort of whistle-stop tour, and I hope not too much jargon. So, thank you for your time. I do hope you found it useful and it's given you something to think about. And of course, questions to sort of ask yourself about, your operations and the way that you currently do business and your users are using their devices and how they're accessing and passwords and so on. So if you have any further questions on this presentation or other presentations that we've done, please do get in contact. We are here to help. So I'm going to remove this presentation now. Here we go. And invite Dan and Erin back. Hi guys.
Hello.
So Erin, over to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Phil, for another amazing presentation. So we've got a couple of questions to have a discussion around about MFA and MDM. As we said, we like the abbreviations in IT. So the first question we've had in is kind of like because everyone likes things to be really convenient and quick and easy, and I suppose to some this multi-factor authentication can seem a little bit arduous, like typing in a code every time you log in. It's a bit of a pain, isn't it? And the benefits of MFA kind of make this worthwhile, in your opinion, Phil?
Again, great question, actually, and a question we get asked a lot. I mean, quick answer would be that actually this is going to roll out anyway to a lot of applications regardless. And we know employees don't like change, but this is a small change. And it's a huge sort of leap forward in protecting users from unauthorized access. Our solution has a minimal impact. And when employees understand the risk of not doing it, and after a few weeks of change, the pain does disappear. So, the sort of results outweigh, the sort of the time it takes. And like I said at the beginning, this is going to go anyway. So having one multi-factor authentication solution in place really answers that. And I'm sure, Dan, you could probably add to that.
Yeah, so I suppose the old MFAs, maybe the physical tokens, the old RSA style tokens, that was a bit of a pain, quite frankly, if you lost it. But the dare I say it, the hindrance isn't really there anymore, if I'm perfectly honest. The solution we provide it has lots of various elements that try to give the absolute best and most seamless user experience. So, for instance, if you're in the office, sort of a novelty at the moment perhaps, but or a trusted known location, well, then you can actually customize the rules to say, well, we know that we don't need to prompt for 2FA because there's no way that they'd have got in the building, and unless they were who they said they were. The other piece which I really like is, rather than it being those old type of passwords that come through on a text message or an app, well, ours will actually just buzz your smartphone and say, is this really you logging in? Yes. And that's it. This is literally a simple, it's a one tap. It's really very very, very quick and hopefully not too arduous. So I think there's a lot of concerns that have really kind of fallen by the wayside in terms of how MFA used to be a bit of a pain in the in the proverbial, but really it's negligible now. And considering the pain you can go through without having this, the pros and cons are massively in favour of the pros of a good, sensible MFA policy, really, and the right application.
Definitely.
Great. So moving on to the next question. So everyone has lots of personal things on their devices, ranging from like photos, videos, family things, Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, other kind of personal accounts. And I suppose people are worried about what kind of access this kind of software, like MDM software, might have, and does it intrude on our personal apps and data? What do you think?
Well, if I can start with that, yeah, I mean, this is the biggest challenge that employers face when dealing with employees and their personal mobile. So, and this is where our solution sort of has two options, really. I mean, probably Dan could probably go more on that, but basically you've got a fully managed sort of solution, which is ideal for company owned, and then a container only. So it's basically the app that you download, and then all the company data is securely within that. So anything inside that is business data and it's secure. Anything outside that, the business has no access to it. It can't do anything with it, not even settings or anything like that. But of course, there is an advantage of having the sort of the admin management side of it, even for a personal device, because it enhances that security, with things like, we can wipe it and secure it. So that if that device is stolen or lost, then that person, we can make sure that their own personal data and stuff isn't accessed to whoever's actually got that device and managed to hack into it. I'm sure you can add to that as well, Dan.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing really is it comes down to trust. Now, the power and plethora of smartphones, tablets, etc. is great. More often than not, I'll check an email at 10 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the morning. Not on my laptop anymore, and that's become the norm. People use their email pretty much 24/7, but through a device that isn't as well protected as you typically expect a laptop or desktop to be. And it's really quite interesting because it would be almost unheard of, really, in this day and age, to not have some type of anti-malware, antivirus type platform installed on the laptop. It's just good common sense practice that you would do that. But all that data that you're concerned about protecting, on those devices, well, it all exists on mobiles anyway. And quite frankly, you're probably more likely to lose or have stolen your mobile phone than the laptop or desktop. So I think organisations really need to wake up to these devices, whilst great in terms of improving employee productivity, are as big a security risk, and arguably more so. Bear in mind they go out absolutely everywhere. The laptops that they would de facto protect anyway. You look at the stats for malware development for things like Android platform. And by no means saying iOS is perfect, Apple's mobile platform, but there's more than 3 million pieces of malware developed on the Android platform last year alone. And those apps could be stealing credentials, they could be stealing data, and it might not just be corporate data, of course, it could also be your personal data. So protecting those devices, again, I think it just needs to become good common sense that you protect the laptops, you protect your servers, you protect pretty much everything that you're entrusting to access your company's data. Going to Apple, they obviously had a fairly well publicized flaw in their mail app back end of last month, and they did a pretty good job in terms of getting patches out there and sort of educating the wider IT community about how to mitigate that issue. But from a slightly higher perspective, well, how do you know that your staff, who using their personal iPhone for to access your email, your shared data, all that kind of stuff, how do you know actually that they have patched and it is protected? And it's not going to keep you up at night thinking, we've now got this massive security hole. So I think it's really just about applying good common sense and trust. Basically, trust has to go two ways. You are asking your staff to put a corporate application potentially on their device, but for the betterment of everyone. You maintain the productivity, but Phil, as you said, if that device were lost, well, I probably wouldn't want anyone having access to my personal photos. It's got my kids on, or personal passwords for my bank, for instance. All that stuff. But I'd want to make sure that none of that was usable to anyone. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on it, really.
And also, I think people are investing more into sort of security on the cybersecurity side. So why would you leave a window open with that anyway? And the weakest link potentially at the moment is either a user or their mobile device. So
Yeah.
A simple solution to sort of fill that hole and secure it is, to me, it's a no-brainer that business owners should be considering. Seriously.
Absolutely, and especially now we're seeing this more and more where any organisation that's perhaps working in any kind of government contracts, maybe just local councils, for instance, there is now a requirement coming out that you as an absolute base have to have a Cyber Essentials certification, and part of that certification process, having literally just been through it, we are ISO accredited anyway, but needed to catch up and get that one, get that badge. Well, part of the requirement on that is, well, where is your data? What devices does your organisation use? We're a BYOD friendly organisation, I like to think. So we value that our staff can use their iPads, use their iPhones, their Android devices, etc. But we also have to ensure they are protected. And as part of our Cyber Essentials certification process, we had to state what devices and what versions of software, because to achieve that certification, they have to be the software on those devices has to be being currently maintained by the original vendor. Or how can you be sure of that? Well, the only real way is to have some sort of central reporting mechanism to say, Dan's iPhone is running 13.5. It updated last night. No concerns here, basically. And it's really achieving that peace of mind that you'd expect traditionally with laptops, but with other devices that massively widens that attack vector.
Great.
Cool.
So it seems like overall the general consensus is that the slight anxiety or worry about these things is massively outweighed by the pros and the fact that actually you'd go through much more anxiety and worry to not have these things.
Absolutely. There's such a prevalence of malware out there, particularly in the Android space, that can do some pretty nasty stuff. And of course it's not always intentional by the end user. They could have, I don't know, the kids have said, oh, can I install this game, type thing. That's been ringing true for me for the last couple of months. And you install an app, don't really think about it, it asks for a bit of access, you go, yeah, that's fine, and next thing you know, oh, someone else has got access to my email because it's nicked all the credentials. That kind of thing is a very real process that some organizations will sadly fall foul of, but there is a relatively straightforward way out of that out of that issue.
And I think that's part of my presentation, was highlighting and making business owners aware of the password security risks that of the stats there, and also about the risks of people using their personal known devices, because a lot of business owners haven't thought of it. It's just sort of happened behind the scenes, and it's just become sort of a way of life, and like Dan said, no control over it, and all of a sudden you're asked the question, where is your data? And one, you probably can't answer it, and two, even if you can answer it, you can't do anything about it, so
cool. No, definitely.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for your interesting and thought-provoking answers to those questions, and Phil for your presentation again. Really great. And thank you everyone who's watched and who's watching in the future. And we look forward to doing another live video next week. Thanks so much, guys.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.